It's exactly 12 o'clock on Saturday the 21st of March 2015, and we're at Chiba City, about an hour's train drive to the east of Tokyo, and we're here to see this fascinating object, the Chiba City town liner. This system, where the train hangs down from the track instead of sitting on top of it, is known as the Safage system. So what we're going to do now is take a close look at this system today, and then we'll go to the Haneda monorail in Tokyo, which is one where the train sits on top, and we'll compare the two systems. So another advantage with this particular layout in using monorail is that we're not affected by the traffic at all. If the traffic's completely at a standstill, it doesn't make any difference, and neither does the passage of our train cause any slowdown to the road traffic. Of course, if we were in a light rail car passing down the road there, our passage itself might be causing some congestion to other traffic. But with monorail, we're completely grade separated. Another feature is, of course, that it's unlikely that anybody's going to walk in front of this train and get killed. All over the world, about 1.5 million people a year are killed just by walking in front of cars and buses. But I don't think anybody's ever been killed by running in front of a monorail, as far as I can tell. Now take a look at the challenges that there are in getting us out of this station. Look at this. Remember, we're already at a quite high level above the other station buildings above here at Chiba. But now look at what we've got to do to get out of here. We have got to get this very high height. It's much easier to see how high we are when we look down below us. Look at that. See how high we are? Then we've got to get between the skyscrapers here. Get between these skyscrapers here and along this road, and they had to get around all this without demolishing any buildings or anything of the sort. Got our junior engineers here. Hi.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Hello, hello. There's the ground below us. Now, something important to notice about this, we're going to pass through a park. Here we are passing through it now. The reason why monorail is built is not for the benefit of the trains, and it's not for the benefit of the passengers. The passengers don't really mind what kind of train they're on. The purpose of this is for the benefit of the people who live below. Now look at this, we're passing now through a park, and you'll notice that there are plants growing there under the track. There's trees, they're just about to come in blossom. It's just early spring right now, and it kind of coexists with the park here. Can you imagine trying to do this with a heavy rail viaduct? And now we're passing through a sports stadium. We're going over its concourse here. There's a stadium off to our left. But if you were to do all this with a heavy rail viaduct, the problem is that the sunlight would be blocked out. Look, you can see the shadow. That's as much shadow as this track makes. And as the day goes by, the shadow tracks, of course, so that no part of the place is permanently under shadow. If this were done with a heavy rail viaduct, the sunlight underneath it would get blocked out. And of course it would never rain, it would go dry. So things would not be able to live under the viaduct like we have just seen just now. By the way, you can see inside the guideway now, see there? In the Safage system, the bogies that contain the traction motors, the guidance wheels, the brakes and the running parts are rolling inside that box girder beam system there. And that protects it from the weather, and it also makes it quite a bit quieter. So it's a quiet and it's a reliable system. Downside is, of course, that means that the track has to wrap around the bogies, so the guideway is a little bit larger than that Alweg system where the bogies wrap around the track. Just some final thoughts in the few moments while we arrive back at the main station. My first impression of this monorail was not a good one. I mean, look at this huge structure here. I thought that's pretty intrusive and rather ugly, to be frank. But I've changed my mind, because when I've seen the very extreme challenges that were faced by the builders of this line, and how they had to weave around other structures that were there and try and do it in the least intrusive way possible, actually they've done pretty well. I can't think of another way of having done this that would have been better, at least for the people who have to live underneath it. Now, you might think I'm in a subway station here, and I am. This is an underground station, alright, but this is a monorail train. Yep. Monorail trains can run underground as well. And of course they have these same gates here to stop you from falling down the tracks. It just shows you how flexible monorail is. Although the purpose of monorail is to be overhead, it doesn't necessarily have to. It works just as well underground too. Let's join this one. One thing that is very odd is these little platforms that are raised up like this in the middle of the cars, like that, and like that. Well, the reason for that is because that's where the wheels are. The bogies that have the wheels, the drive motors, the brakes and the guide wheels are inside these little islands like this. So they kind of intrude into the vehicle itself. But that's done to make sure that the car sits snugly on the track and that the track itself is the smallest. Unlike the Safage system where the bogies are inside the guideway so they don't intrude inside the vehicle. But the space is not wasted because, as we see, the space is filled with seats. In fact, people can sit on the seats here and get quite a nice view. Once again, the train needs to pass underneath a shipping lane. There's a shipping lane ahead of us here, and so we're going to dive into this tunnel and come out the other side. Very steep gradients, but not really a tremendous problem for the Alweg system with its rubber traction tyres. If you look ahead of us, you'll see that the guideway is switched off to the left because we're on a local train. We have to pull over to the siding now because the express is coming up behind us and the express is going to overtake us at this place. So you can still have locals and expresses and all that good stuff, just like you can on heavy rail. The switches, these switches probably flip maybe every 10-15 minutes a day for the last 50 years without any problem at all. Quite reliable. So the switches are not as big a problem as many people thought they might be. So as you see, the track's now gone straight ahead, as well it might, because here comes the express. We've got expresses coming in both directions at the same time. This is the express that was behind us. There she goes, and now the switches will change. Switch changes, and our local is ready to go. I better hurry up and get back on it before they leave without me. Well, just made it. The express is now on its main part of its line, and I just checked the speed on this to see what the cruising speed is, and there's a speedometer, and it's showing a speed of 80 kilometers per hour. This is what it looks like below the monorail track. There's a Haneda monorail passing overhead of us. One in each direction. Let's just reflect for a moment why we're building monorail in the first place. Well, the reason why we're building monorail isn't actually for the benefit of the monorail train or the passengers. It's for the benefit of the people who have to live below it. Its designer of the Alweg system designed it so that the track would be as small as possible to cut down the visual impact and reduce the shadowing underneath, so that things wouldn't die underneath the track and so it would be less intrusive. That was the idea. So the train was designed so that the track could be as small as possible. Now that column is probably about maybe 1 meter by 1 meter. Maybe a wee bit more than that, but that's all the real estate it's taking up, and the rest of the land is a park, and stuff is able to grow here. Footpaths are able to be here. The trains are so quiet you hardly notice at all they're passing, kind of a whooshing noise as they go, but really they don't detract very considerably from the environment that they're in. So from that score, I'd say the Alweg system certainly is very successful.